And now, Maine Web News.
Welcome to the Pine State Debate on MaineWebNews. And today we're going to be talking about welfare reform and have a couple guests. This is Justin Chenette of The Justin Chenette Show.
Thank you.
And he hosts Youth in Politics.
Yes.
And is an award-winning broadcaster here. So thanks for joining us, Justin.
Thank you for having me.
And we have Paula Page's social media, new media strategist.
Yeah,
Eric Bennett.
During the campaign, I did a new media and social networking strategy for Paula Page, Maine's next governor.
Great. You've also done some political advisement for Democrats, Republicans, Greens in the past.
I have. I've advised all different people of all different parties. I tend to look at the person that I think is going to do the best job.
Excellent. And Eric's also a regular contributor on MaineWebNews, so you've probably seen him hosting The Pulse of Maine with Eric Bennett. Well, the first thing, there's a lot of just hot air that goes around in campaigns, let's face it, or talking points, and sometimes it seems like they're light on specific proposals. But one of the best proposals I liked was Governor LePage's proposal for fixing welfare, where he would tier the system. So instead of an all-or-nothing approach where either you have everything, your Medicaid, your housing, your food assistance, or you make $200 and whatever dollars a week, now you get nothing. He wants to tier the system. What do you think of that idea?
Well, I know that he wants to create a 5-year limit on terms of what kind of welfare benefits that people are given, and to ensure that it's not a lifetime of handouts, according to Paula Page. But what I'd like to reference is the fact that 70% of Mainers that utilize welfare services like the temporary assistance for needy families is off of welfare in the state of Maine within a year. And then only 4% of those people actually utilize it past the 5-year limit that Paula Page is, proposing. So, this idea that somehow we have all these people utilizing it for a lifetime appointment is false based on the information there. Now, that's one specific welfare program. There's also heating assistance and other ones. So,
should we have a mechanism for those, however small or large the number is, those people who have been on it for 17 years?
We have to look at it from a personal perspective. We need to see by case study, what are these people going through? Do they have mental health issues? We have to really put ourselves in their shoes. This idea that somehow we're just going to paint an entire brush and make wild generalizations of all welfare recipients of they're lazy, they don't have jobs, is just a falsity, and we really need to take it case by case.
And do you think that's an accurate description of Mr. LePage's
yes,
viewpoint?
the question was, do you agree with the tiered system? Now, the tiered system is designed to address specifically what you said it wasn't. When you take these different scenarios of the people that need food stamps, okay, that's fine, and that's tiered for that. So if someone gets on their feet and they don't need that service anymore, you don't take away all of the benefits. That's why it's like that. Mm-hmm. Now, as far as 73%, here's a number for you. In the last 10 years, 412 towns in the state of Maine, out of all 488 towns, have seen a dramatic increase in the number of people going onto the welfare rolls. What that means is that the system is being assaulted. It's being way too easy. They're making it way too easy for this to happen. And this is in conjunction now with, of course, because when you've got that many people going onto the system, it's not because they're lazy. It's because they're being taught how to. Compared to the number of jobs that are paying in, you're going to offset that. That's not going to be balanced. So, yeah, we absolutely have to have a tiered system, which is what your question was. Because, again, it's an individual thing, as Justin pointed out. So you want to make sure that as people start to get on their feet, you don't remove all of their benefits, which is the way it is now, because that's not going to help anybody. That's going to perpetuate a system of reliance.
Well, I mean, you say some of these towns, all the 400 and something plus towns have an increase in the welfare rolls. Well, welfare includes a lot of different things based on this tiered system. We have food stamps, there's health insurance, there's heating assistance. So, I mean, you could have a town that there's some families that are having trouble paying for the high cost of oil. And that's what we call welfare. And so welfare is a politically charged term that's typically used in a negative connotation by conservatives to kind of skew the bases to say, hey, we have to, address this concern. It's this raising cost and it's this terrible thing, when in reality, if you actually break down what these things actually include, it's not some terrible thing that they're having to be on their entire life. The statistics prove themselves that it's not forever. It's until they get on their feet. So this tiered system sounds like a good idea. Let's see if Paula Page can implement it without skewing it in a more conservative light.
Well, another thing that I've seen him propose is to change the fact that when people go in now, maybe they've been working their whole lives and they've never needed assistance, but geez, they could use some food assistance. They need food assistance for a couple months. The problem is when they go in to get that food assistance, is there someone there coaching them that, hey, did you know you can get this, and did you know you can get that
Right.
as well?
Well,
I think that should go on.
What I hope Paul LePage does is really implement the kind of tools necessary for people to get on their feet, to help them with job assistance. This idea that somehow people are just going to pull themselves from their bootstraps and get a job. 1 out of 10 Americans don't have a job right now. So the opportunity may not exist in the towns that Paul LePage was able to pull himself up from his bootstraps. His story's nice, and that's one of the reasons why he got elected, is his story was nice for people.
Do you think that gives him more credibility when he brings up welfare reform, that he led by example?
Like Sarah Palin says, average Joe six-pack types connect with some conservative audiences, and Mainers in general. They like feeling connected with their governor and their politicians, and he was able to capitalize on that. And welfare is one of those systems that when people hear it from him, they may get a little nervous on the left, and on the right they may start cheering. So I'm hoping he can bring both political entities together to find a common ground.
Listen, I don't want a long-winded monologue to reply to all that. The fact of the matter is this. It's not politically charged rhetoric. This is real-life dollars and cents addition and subtraction. We're looking at a welfare state that has grown exponentially in the last 10 years alone. It's not sustainable. It's not a matter of trying to make people feel bad or saying you're lazy. That has nothing to do with it. Anytime you see a system of government that incorporates these forms of ideas that do not allow welfare to help people get on their feet, but turns it from generation to generation to generation, which is what it has become, then you don't have a free system. You have a system of oppression. Now, as far as Paul, playing on his hard scrabble roots to try to get elected, that's not it at all. He didn't even want to do that. He wanted to avoid that. That was a suggestion. But the fact of the matter is that he does understand the system. He doesn't have to go online and read what people are saying about it. He knows it. He governed it. He lived it. So what we're talking about now here is we want to create a state where instead of where it's increased exponentially over just the last 10 years, we want to start reversing that, because you know what's going to happen is the larger a welfare state gets, and that's what it's doing, it's blowing up, and there's nobody's putting the brakes on. The larger that gets, the more it costs to support that. The more it costs to support that, the more we're going to kiss these businesses goodbye. Now, it's not about politics. Paul is putting people before politics. What it's about is making sure we can create an environment that's going to attract jobs, because profit pays the bills. Welfare doesn't pay anything. No one's going to prosper on welfare. It should be a short-term program for those that truly need it. Yeah, you can take your heat, you can take your food, take your rent, but you're not going to take all three, or even 2 out of the 3, and do it your whole life, and then teach a kid how to do it.
But a majority of people aren't doing it their whole life. This perception that we're going to paint wild generalizations of people, that's getting to my point earlier.
What's your source? Where are you getting it from?
Well, the Bangor Daily News cited the the program, the temporary assistance for needy families, and that's one particular program, I admit. And I agree with you. It needs to be a short-term system, which a majority of it is for. I mean, we need to make sure there's going to be good and bad apples.
Justin, we're the number one welfare state in the country. We're the number one welfare state in the country.
And that is per capita?
Per capita. It's not getting any better. What Governor LePage wants to do is he wants to take the fact of the matter that the ideas the people have had that have been running the state for the last 40 years, socialism, dependency on the state, that's what it is, and they've been growing that. We now have 412 out of 488 towns on welfare. In the last 10 years alone, it's increased 73%.
Let's figure out why those people are having to utilize the government services to stay on their feet.
That's relatively simple. The reason that they have to do that is because on a larger level, a lot of our jobs here in Maine, manufacturing, production, have been shipped overseas. The mills are closing down. People aren't getting cross-trained. Governor LePage is going to address that. Regulation. You've got fishermen that are used to working almost as much as they want within the limits and being able to catch and sell as much as they want according to market supply and demand. Now the federal government's saying, no, you can only work this many days a year and you have to follow this rule, this rule, this rule, this rule, and this rule. It's driving them into the poorhouse. You've got all of these government regulations. See, government isn't the solution here. The government is going to seek to control. When people gain power, they gain power usually, especially if it's in this form of ideology, to control. You do that by oppression. The only way you are going to free people to really pursue their heart's desires, you want to be a journalist, you're going to take the brakes off, you're going to clear the obstacles out of the way, and you're going to make it as easy as possible for you to go after what you want.
Mm-hmm.
If you're put on welfare, and you're told that if you make $1 more than the poverty rate, which is $14,000 for two and $22,000 for a couple of four with a couple of kids, okay, that's not going to provide any incentive. That's going to kill any incentive, especially in a climate that's getting progressively worse. Because that's the only way we're going to apply this progressive label to anything that's happening here in Maine, is it's getting progressively worse.
Well, I think I think we agree on some levels that it needs to be, a short-tiered system, but, we are talking about people fundamentally, and anytime we talk about situations like welfare or immigration or marriage, we have to reference this idea that we can't dehumanize these people, because my family was put on, me personally, when I was younger, my mom was a single parent. She had to utilize government services. We were in public housing, we are on food stamps, and now we're in a financially good situation.
So how did she get off?
She worked hard, but if it wasn't for those systems, we wouldn't have been able to get on our feet. So from a personal perspective, I love how there's people that are going to say, we can't be doing this, or it needs to be cut off, when they don't know people that have actually utilized it in a positive way.
What had to happen in your situation for her to completely come off? And was it a all or nothing thing at the time?
It was not an all or nothing thing. I know we're running out of time, but the key is, you do work hard, but I think a tiered system, but recognizing that there is a gentleness we have to approach with this situation. It's a case-by-case personal scenario that we have to look at this.
So I think there's a lot of wisdom in both of you guys.
There's some positive aspects of it.
I think there's wisdom that you guys have basically both agreed that...
Yeah, do you support the tiered system?
There are aspects of it that are positive, including a limit.
Right. Mm-hmm. Well, you both agree that the economy and the lack of jobs is very tied to the need for welfare. So I think acknowledging that's a key thing. To your knowledge, is there a specific time limit that's in mind?
Well, that's going to depend on a number of things. This isn't something that a governor puts through necessarily by an executive order. This is something that's happening to go through the legislature. Given the landscape in Maine, the political landscape, it's something that should be able to be achieved, hopefully within the first biennium, the sooner the better,
right?
Because then that will set the targets and the scopes for the next projections much higher in terms of productive management.
Right. Because like with anything, the devil will be in the details with all of this stuff. So great. Well, I thank you both for coming on. We are running out of time. Justin, if someone wants to catch your Justin Schnett show, how do they get hold of that?
They can visit my website at justinschnett.com, just my name.com, and it's going to be really exciting moving forward, looking into the 2012 election cycle. I know we're going to be delving into a lot of these important topics, and only through this type of dialogue can real solutions develop. Doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican. These are American issues. Let's come to the table and talk about it to develop solutions.
Great. And Eric, how can folks get a hold of more of your news and views?
You can look for me on Facebook. I'm on there a lot. I love talking to people. Just type in my name, and you'll see a great big picture of me smiling, and hope to talk to you soon.
Thank you both for coming on, and we'll see you next time on the Pine State Debate.